Welcome to Two Therapists Talking. The hope for this podcast is to talk about important issues related to couples and individuals who are struggling in their lives with many different issues. I'm David Thompson, a marriage and family therapist.
And I'm Sherie Christensen, marriage and family therapist. Please join us as we explore these issues together, and we hope you will learn and be enlightened along the way. Come find us at twotherapisttalking.com. If you like what you're hearing, please get on and rate us and subscribe to the podcast.
Hi, and welcome back to Two Therapists Talking. I'm David.
And I'm Sherie.
One of the things we've talked about before is following a model for addiction recovery and partner reconciliation that follows Dr. Patrick Carne's CSAT model. CSAT stands for Certified Sexual Addictions Therapist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that come into our offices, this is what they're struggling with, and they're looking for the structure, the order that his model provides.
Right.
And I'm a certified sexual addictions therapist, and so this informs a lot of what we do in here. And honestly, this is why a lot of people come to me specifically is, hey, we found your CSAT, we call it.
Right. Yeah, because you need someone that understands these processes and things like that. A lot of people say, hey, I work with addiction, I work with sex addiction, I do betrayal, I do, all those kinds of things, but they don't actually have a very good model and can actually cause more harm.
There's actual certifications in this, and that's what we want to cover. If you already know a lot about this, I still think this will be a helpful review for you, but if you're curious about it or have heard about it, maybe don't know a lot about it, today should be helpful.
Absolutely.
Kind of want to go through what the CSAT task model or recovery roadmap would look like.
Yeah. So one of the things that they talk about before we even get into the tasks is the model talks about the stages kind of that you're moving through as you go through the process of recovery. So we have tasks that are going to support those different movement process, but the movement itself, the first place when you come into therapy, you're in crisis.
Yep.
So we're stabilizing the crisis when you first come in, and I feel like part of that process is giving hope and also giving this roadmap. Yeah. Right. So giving you some guidelines and saying, hey, you're in the right place. We've got this. We have this program. We have this way of moving through this, and there's hope.
Definitely, especially when it's often right after disclosure and it feels completely devastating.
Yeah.
And process helps a lot. If you know that there's a process that's tried and true, has been tested, researched around for decades, and it just works, it really feels like a lifeline.
Yes.
When you're in crisis. And hopefully no one listening to this is in that state of crisis, but if they are, see how comforting this is to know there are steps and stages and we walk you through it and see if these sound right.
Yes, absolutely. So after crisis, you move into a space of sobriety. And their model is very much that, or Patrick Carne's model is very much that you need that sobriety before you can really build out anything substantial in terms of change and really healthy relationship and things like that.
Definitely.
So you have to have that sobriety piece in place before you can really do a ton of movement after that. Obviously, you're going to be doing some of these things simultaneously, right? You're going to be trying to improve relationship and trying to heal, repair in relationship, but sobriety is a really foundational piece. And I actually think that's significant because I think a lot of people coming in, both the addict and the spouse, a lot of times come in and they're like, well, sobriety is the end goal. Like that's the end, Like if we just get this taken care of, everything else will be fine.
Yep.
Right? And I think it's a really important piece to understand that that's actually the foundational step. That's kind of the baseline that we're then building off of to heal and repair relationship.
Right. And without sobriety, I mean, you can think of it like there's competing interests. If you're not sober, and we can talk about levels of sobriety, because there's behavior that absolutely has to stop.
Yes.
And then there's other behavior that we anticipate will take time.
You're starving off over time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and we lay those out. Any kind of behavior that is with someone else, contact with someone else, hooking up with somebody else, that has to absolutely stop.
Yes.
For any process like this to even have any hope. But then if we're talking about masturbation, for example, ideally as soon as possible, right? But over time, we expect that this is more of a process for something like that. But you see why you have to have levels of sobriety to even do the process.
Absolutely.
If there's acting out, and especially minimizing, deception around the acting out, we have no foundation to stand on.
Right.
And so sobriety is right after crisis in this Carne's CSAT model.
Yeah. And I think that's important for betrayed partners as well. So I think sometimes the addict is like, okay, yeah, well, I just need to get the sobriety thing and then everything's going to be perfect, right? But I think sometimes spouses come in thinking that too. Well, if they just get sober, everything's going to be perfect. And there's a lot more that goes on in this process of like rebuilding relationship and figuring out, okay, so yes, they have an addiction and that's affecting the relationship quite a bit. And also the spouse, you're showing up too in patterns that the two of you have developed over time that are going to be less effective. And so just removing addiction out of the mix doesn't totally fix and heal automatically the patterns that you two have created in order to try to protect yourselves, in order to try to maintain stability and functionality in a relationship where there's a lot of things going on. And so, again, there's a lot more to it than just sobriety.
Yeah. Yep. So following this model, you have crisis, then sobriety, and then integrity. And integrity and sobriety are like hand in hand.
Right.
You could have put either one of these, I think, in a different order, but sobriety, integrity have to be together. Trust has to begin to be reestablished around these things where I can believe that I know what's happening because my partner is sharing with me what's happening.
Yes.
And this is why, and we'll get to this in time, but disclosure, a therapeutic disclosure, we say therapeutic because it involves the help of, a counselor, a therapist who can help you, because it often includes like a lie detector test and a sexual history, which we've also talked about. But we just need to know that we know. It's not going to be good enough most of the time to say, well, but no, I mean it. I really mean it. They've heard this a lot already.
Because there hasn't been integrity, right? And sometimes, a lot of times that's because of their own shame and stuff. So we're not saying like you're a horrible, awful person. We're just saying when that's not there, you have to put it all out there. You have to really put everything on the table so that the partner can say, okay, I know everything. I can trust that I know everything. And then you're continuing to rebuild trust by sharing and being honest with what's going on.
And we could do so much on all of this, honestly. You see the need for a pattern where the person hearing the honesty is able to receive it in a way that doesn't cause more shame or damage or upset for the person sharing. Not that it's not distressing information to hear.
Right, and not that you don't get to have your own feelings.
Right, definitely. Because the fear of honesty is almost always behind a lot of the being dishonest.
Right.
I'm afraid that if I am honest about this, all of these things will happen.
Yeah.
And, that's something
I've got
to talk
a ton
about
of my own
consider.
shame that I, yes. Yep. Yeah. So it's a key part that obviously has to be, again, you're listening to two relational therapists, right? Marriage and family therapists. So we very much think in a systems way, but all of these processes are really important for both people to be able to be on board with.
Right.
If you don't have the support where each person is doing their part of helping with the situation, right, then you're not going to get very far.
Right.
If you don't have a betrayed partner who is being open to the possibility, doesn't mean you have to be perfect, right? It doesn't mean you don't get to have feelings, but able to take that information in without massively shaming or berating or you're the worst in the world, or ultimatums of like, if you ever look at another, person twice again, it's over, right? Ultimatums at small levels, right? Then you're not going to get anywhere. On the other side, if you're not being trustworthy and you're not sharing, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right. Yep.
So after integrity, then we move into intimacy. And intimacy doesn't mean, okay, now we're just working on a sexual relationship and repairing that. Right? We're looking at far more than that. Right. Intimacy across the board. And especially focusing on emotional intimacy and support and being able to reconnect on those deeper levels.
Right. And spending time together and building relationship rituals, which, we overuse this word, I think, but it fits in some contexts, just feeling safe. Mm-hmm. And so building intimacy in ways that work. So walks and more time together, more talks, some affection, what you're comfortable with, building towards more intimacy. But intimacy is absolutely part of this process, and with a focus on we do want to try to build this once these other things start coming into place. There's a reason why it comes after sobriety and integrity, right?
Yes. Yeah, there has to be some space for you to be able to sit in that and accept it and give it well, which requires the sobriety, the integrity, and all of that.
Yep.
But obviously, again, as we were talking about before, sobriety is not the end goal. Like this intimacy and connection and all the thing and growth, which is the next step, right? Those are the things we're looking for, right? And that's what we all want in our, heart of hearts, right? Is that connection with another person, hopefully the person we love more than anything, right? So we want to have that depth to relationship and rebuilding that or building it for the first time.
Yeah, which is a good point that sobriety is not even the goal. Recovery is the goal, right? Different mindset, different desires, different pursuits, you long for different things. And the relationship to recover needs both leveling up. It needs everyone involved doing things better, differently than they have before, which can sometimes be hard because if your partner has offended you by acting out, it may feel like there's really nothing I need to do. I just hope they figure it out and everything will be fine. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if I've ever seen a relationship where there weren't patterns of miscommunication or challenge, frustration with sharing what somebody was really feeling. Mm-hmm. And so this isn't, accusatory. It's not blaming.
Yeah, again, no one's wrong. Like, you're a bad person, right?
It's an opportunity, whether you ask for it or not, to level up your way of relating to each other, your way of relating to yourself, and not allowing, your small self or your ego or your pride to get in the way
your
of
parts.
of really connecting with real intimacy. And we hope that in this process of recovery, the person who's the offender, who maybe struggles with addiction or has acted out, feels more heard and understood as a result of this process than they did before.
As well.
We want both, definitely. But sometimes, we underestimate the need for the person who's done the thing to actually feel real intimacy and connection in the relationship too.
Right. Again, nobody's bad. You're not a horrible person.
Nope.
This is a beautiful opportunity to move toward what you really want. And Something David said around like you want to have different goals and desires. And I think the way that I see it with my clients is they're the goals and desires and all the things that you actually wanted anyway.
Yeah.
We just have to get that addiction piece out of the way so the real you can really shine through. And you can live and be and do the things that you've really always wanted in yourself. Right? Yep. And I think there are some people there are some things that you do end up shifting and changing, right? As a result. But a lot of times it's the real you that's in there yourself that is finally able to kind of come out and shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear that from spouses too a lot of times, like, oh, that, like, I know they're in there, like, I know that person.
Yeah, right. Yep. I married that person.
Yes.
And something's happened, things have gotten in the way, fears, insecurities, whatever, but I know we can have what I want this to be, so.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I mean, that leads right into the last stage, which is growth, which, again, fits right in what we're saying. We're moving forward, we're gaining skills, we've got support, we've got truth that's coming through, and we have this beautiful space where we're growing individually but together in intimacy, in desires for the future, and building this thing together that is us.
Yep. So it's helpful to think of recovery as a task-based process, and for, I want to say, 100% probably of addicts, those struggling in behavior, they very much appreciate that this is a task-based process.
I need to complete this task and this task.
I've got a roadmap. I can see it. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm going.
Doesn't feel nebulous.
Yep.
Or overwhelming because it's nebulous, because you don't have steps.
So tasks. Basically, what are we trying to do then in a recovery task model? At least, certainly from Dr. Carne's using the CSAT model. Mm-hmm. Certain things we definitely are after. We want to stabilize the behavior. Yep. That's where the sobriety comes in. Mm-hmm. We want to understand the cycle, which is pretty important. This is, when we talk about cause blindness, we tend to suffer from not understanding the cause behind the behavior. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if we just focus on the behavior, it's the same with parenting. If you're just upset at your kids acting out, throwing a fit, whatever, what we really want is to understand what they're feeling and what's happened for them to be in the place they're in. Same thing here, even though it's harder, I think, definitely. Yes. But understand the cycle. We need to build skills and support. A lot of skills building in this. Lots of emotional awareness, emotional regulation.
Yes.
Managing intrusive, unwanted thoughts. More effectively, which we've talked about, and you see the need for that skill especially, I think.
Yeah, especially, I think, when you think about, okay, if you've been using this tool to regulate yourself whenever there's any emotional distress, or sometimes emotional, like, you're really excited, like, yay, things are really great, right? But if this is your go-to, which as an addict it will be, for pretty much most things, right? It just, that brain path just gets stronger and stronger and stronger every time you do that. And so you don't really have a lot of other options available, or options that feel useful. Yeah. And so that's a really big task to pull back, starve off that one side of things and then start building out these other options of regulation, and skills around, okay, what do I do when things are heightened, or how do I handle these types of situations where in the past, I would just either shut down or explode and go check out with my addiction.
Yep. And you know what? Even if you think as the partner, you're really good at this, you're probably going to be forced to get better at it.
Yes.
Because now you need to regulate your emotions around all the things that have happened and the tremendous amount of hurt that you feel. So really good for both.
Exactly.
To manage emotions more effectively, relate to these thoughts and feelings differently than before.
Yeah. Anytime you have something super big that happens, right? Like finding out about betrayal or things like that, right? That's going to max out your capacities, right? Yeah. And whenever we feel a lot of intense emotions, a lot of intense experiences, it's much easier for us to revert into, if we're using that IFS model again, internal family systems, those protective parts of us.
Yeah.
And so it's super common. It just happens. And so it's like PhD level. This is what we're doing. PhD level healing and growth, which we all want to get to eventually. So here's a great opportunity.
Yep.
So practicing, so we build skills and support. The next task is to practice rigorous honesty and grow into healthy intimacy. And this isn't like, I told you I was going to get gas on the way home and I didn't, right? When we're talking about rigorous honesty, I think we're stepping into so much more, there's so much more of a depth of that goes with healthy intimacy.
Right.
It's the ability to share hard things with your partner, to be able to bring up things in a healthy way because you've gotten these skills that you've built already, right? But being able to step into these really vulnerable, tricky spots, both in honestly sharing and in honestly being able to take the feedback and sit with those responses and work through those hard things together.
Yep. So this is a basic layout of the CSAT task model. This is the recovery roadmap that we want to follow. Next episode, we're going to go into the particular tasks. There's 8 of them, and we want to talk about these, and I think it's going to be really helpful. Probably brings a lot of comfort to somebody saying, I need order and structure, and hearing this is going to work for you. So,
yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and make sure to listen to the next episode.
See you then. Thank you for listening to Two Therapists Talking. We look forward to sharing more conversations with you. Connect with us at twotherapisttalking.com or email podcast@twotherapisttalking.com. If you like what you're hearing, please get on and rate us and subscribe to the podcast.